Rule number 68. Verbs that require another action to complete their meaning will take a complementary infinitive without a subject accusative. I'm going to deal with verbs that show being able, daring, beginning, stopping, fearing, and others. So let's think about this in English first. We have an action, she is able, but we really need a second action to complete our thought. This phrase just doesn't feel finished, and that's where the infinitive comes in. She is able to learn. Discere potest in Latin, with discere serving as our complementary infinitive. The word complementary derives from the Latin complere, which means to complete. So the complementary infinitive completes the meaning of the main verb, which here is potest. This verb, possum posse, is probably the most common verb that takes the complementary infinitive, but there are others. Discedere ex urbe volunt. They want to leave from the city. Our main verb is volunt, but our action is construed by both discedere and volunt. It's not just the wanting, but the wanting to leave. From Cicero, hoc quaeo dicere. I can say this. Quaeo is a synonym for possum, and we can translate it with can. Note that this construction is a bit different in English, and our Latin infinitive isn't translated with to. But we can also render this in English as am able, as in I am able to say this. From Caesar, quotannis ferre accedere solebat. It used to happen almost every year. The verb solebat means it was accustomed or it used, and it needs another action to complete its meaning. And how about this? We can even have a complementary infinitive of a complementary infinitive. Loqui posse coipi. I began to be able to speak. Our main verb here is coipi, I began, and it takes the infinitive posse, which itself requires the infinitive loqui to complete its meaning. Loqui is a deponent verb, which explains why it looks a little different. Here's a list of the most common verbs that typically take complementary infinitives. This list most certainly isn't exhaustive, and most of these verbs don't always have to take an infinitive. We have verbs of being able, like possum, quaeo, and nequeo. There's soleo, audeo, debeo, those of wanting and choosing, like volo, nolo, malo, incipio, and opto. Those of beginning and stopping, like coipi, incipio, desino, and desisto. Verbs of hurrying, like festino, maturo, and propero, along with those of learning and teaching, disco and doceo. And at the end, we have verbs of deciding and trying, statuo, constituo, conor, and tempto. I don't think you need to learn this list. Most of these verbs in English take an infinitive, and so the sense dictates the grammar. Some of these verbs can also take an ut clause with the subjunctive instead of an infinitive. So, oppidum oppugnare constituit, he decided to attack the city, with a complementary infinitive, is equivalent to constituit ut oppidum oppugnaret. Not all of the verbs I listed below work this way, like debeo, for instance, but it's good to know that you do have options when writing your own Latin. And also, poetry expands the list of verbs that take this infinitive. Ovid has saevit extinguere nomen. He rages to erase the name. The key with the complementary infinitive, and let's pull up a basic sentence here, is that the subject of our main verb is also doing the action of the infinitive. Claudia exire potest. Claudia is both doing the being able and the leaving. But if she wanted someone else to leave, like Claudia voluit aureliam exire, now the main verb subject is different from the person doing the infinitive. Claudia did the wanting, but Aurelia is going to do the leaving. And this infinitive exire is now an objective, not a complementary infinitive. And this is a slight semantic change, and the objective infinitive has a different origin and construction from the complementary infinitive, even if this difference doesn't really impact our understanding of the language. So I know what you're about to tell me. Desine id me docere. Stop teaching me this. And so I will. Rule number 68. Verbs that require another action to complete their meaning will take a complementary infinitive without a subject accusative.